Welcome to today's First Chesapeake Chat session. I'm Victoria Mulvihill, a First Chesapeake alumni, and I'm here to introduce the First Chesapeake Chat sponsored by Newport News Shipbuilding. I would like to thank this session's sponsor, Capital One, for making this chat possible. Just some housekeeping, we'll let the speakers present and then open up for discussion questions later on if there is time. But feel free to put your questions and comments in the chat as we talk, and we'll try to get through them all. The session today is Cool Jobs. Meet some of the team from Rev Robotics that design and build parts for FRC and FTC. And I'll now pass it over to Rev Robotics co-founders Greg and Dave, along with former CHS mentor Mike, to introduce themselves. Hello.
Hey,
hi.
How's it going?
Howdy.
Good. I would just like you guys to take a second to explain who you are and, yeah, what's your connection to FIRST?
Sure.
Greg, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm Greg Needell, co-founder of Rev Robotics. I've been involved in FIRST for 19 seasons now. I'm an alumni of a team in Baltimore, Maryland that became part of the Chesapeake District system, and we're happy to be here.
So I guess I'm next. I'm David Shak. I'm the other co-founder of Rev Robotics. I've been involved with FIRST since my rookie season was 2007. Helped start a team in Austin, Team 2158, FRC 2158. But since then, I've been involved, and turns out now I co-founded a company that's directly involved with FIRST, and it's a lot of fun.
And I'm Mike Korch. I'm a customer success manager at Rev, which handles a lot of our documentation and direct customer support at the company. I got started with FIRST in 2003, was my rookie year as a freshman in high school with Team 33 out of Auburn Hills, Michigan. And then graduated through that program, stayed on as a volunteer. And then I came to work for Rev about 2 years ago now. So used to mentor a team out in Baltimore, was living out that way for 6 or so years. So happy to be here, though.
Thank you so much. And so just can you give us a rundown, and what exactly is Rev?
Sure. So Rev Robotics is a company that focuses on trying to make educational robotics products and parts and educational robotics technology more accessible for everyone. So that's trying to figure out items that teams actually need, trying to work on bringing costs down, on making things more accessible, or trying to help reach areas of the world that maybe have issues getting access to the things they need to participate in programs like FIRST. So we are a full service top to bottom. We design, engineer, build everything you see with our name on it.
Yeah, pretty much. And one of the things that's really kind of big with the increasing of accessibility is one of the large things that Greg and David have been a really big with making sure that we're able to do is have not only a good user experience, but also being able to make it where the products are able to be more affordable for everywhere, legitimately everywhere in the world. Like Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like 190 countries are using our products. So everywhere from Argentina and Afghanistan to Zimbabwe and here in the United States. So, it's pretty diverse set of people that are using something, whether it's our smaller scale, like the FTC type scale, 15 millimeter size, all the way up to some of our more higher powered stuff like the Spark Max and Neo brushless motors and that type of stuff. So, yeah.
Can you take us through the process of where you saw the need for Rev Robotics and how you've made it what it is today?
Well, I think it started back in when Greg and I first really were meeting each other through robotics events as mentors in the program. And in 2014, we really started talking about just our own experiences as mentors. Greg has his own experience on teams, and seeing where the program has grown up until the points where we started talking and then where we felt it could go. And we were passionate about the program, but also to be transparent, we wanted to solve issues that we had as mentors. And that really, I think most of the innovation really comes from having a problem and wanting to solve it. And that's basically how we got started.
Yeah. The one of the biggest things that we kind of looked at was this ever looming question for anybody who's tried to help grow and develop teams in a region, which is, why is this not in every school, right? Like, why is it not in every school? And so there was a lot of trying to answer that question before we started a company was a big part of it. And really, we kind of bucketized the answers to a lot of different reasons into basically looking at the cost of programs and materials, the finance related part of the program. Then there's the professional development part of the program, whether that's teacher training or mentor training. And then there's a political environment, things that are outside the control of anybody else. And so if you really kind of segment it out into those three areas, what we looked at was, how do we bring the things that we know as engineers, right? David was working at Texas Instruments. I was actually working at SMU at the time, but doing product development for other companies before that. How do we take what we know about mass manufacturing and economic scale and apply it to try to, we can attack one of those buckets, right? And so if you kind of treat those three buckets as maybe dominoes, right? If you can drive the cost of the program or materials down, and then we can put focus on, documentation and resources and videos and things, a lot of stuff that Mike does, maybe you get those two dominoes to fall and the program all of a sudden becomes accessible to people that it previously wouldn't have been. And so that's kind of where our thinking was when we started Rev.
And you touched on this briefly, but not only your robotics backgrounds, but just your educational or work backgrounds before starting the company. What did that look like before joining?
Mike, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I guess I could start with that one. So mine is actually kind of more the odd version of the story. A lot of the folks at Rev, especially those that are involved in any of the product development, are typically engineers. I'm actually strictly not one. I joke that I just play one on YouTube. But I actually have my degree in history and political science from Grand Valley State University. I was a part of the program growing up, but when I started going to school and started looking at engineering programs, that really wasn't where I was going to fit, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then through college and undergrad, I ended up finding out about the AmeriCorps program and actually came back and served with FIRST in Baltimore, which is part of the reason I left Michigan to move to Maryland. And then that took me on a roller coaster where I was working in the program side. So setting up events and recruiting sponsors and writing grants and that end of the universe. And one of the things, at least for me, was when I was first talking with both Greg and David about coming to join Rev, that was something that they've already touched on, was, cost and documentation. And a lot of these things were a lot of the questions I would field when working with new people kind of led me to come to work with Rev, because it seemed like both from a personal and professional goals kind of aligned with what the company was doing already. But yeah, mine's a little bit of a more odd jumping around. I worked for a couple different nonprofits in between and some other areas, but haven't always been doing the engineering thing.
Yeah, I guess both Greg and I have that engineering background. So yeah, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, got my electrical engineering degree. But unlike both Mike and Greg, I am not actually a FIRST student alum. I got involved as soon as I could. My sophomore year in college, helped start an FRC team. I did a different program when I was in high school, but yeah, I technically wasn't a FIRST student. But yeah, getting involved at the college level, maybe my grades suffered probably a little bit, but I got involved with FIRST and basically didn't look back, and that actually set me on my path to where I am today. If I hadn't joined the very nerdy sounding robot club at UT, I wouldn't have met the other mentors who helped start teams. Andrew Lynch, for example, he just got his district Woody Flowers in the state district for Texas this season. All those great people got me involved in FIRST and got me where I am today.
Yeah, and so I got my degree from the Rochester Institute of Technology. After graduating, I did some co-ops, but basically my focus, basically growing up forever, was wanting to be that inventor, creator of things. So I've worked in products for quite a while at a bunch of different companies, everything from power tools to toys to different things. And so, robotics was a natural evolution, but it's also, Rev is as much as a passion company as it is a company itself, because everybody who's here, like, we do this because we love it, right? I mean, it is, that's so the drive is, reach a point in your career where you realize that, like, you really want to wake up every single day and work on something that's really meaningful and that has the potential to be a much bigger impact. And that is very different than just designing products for someone else that you're going to see on a retail shelf. And so that's kind of why, we do this.
A question that I have is, what was your favorite product to bring to market on either a global or FTC or FRC scale?
Oh man, this is a tough question. I mean, they all have different places at least for me, they all have different places in my heart. I will say that, like, obviously the first line of products that we came out with, like the, like just the base extrusions, like the 1-inch extrusion for FRC was one of the first products we launched. And for me, it was like, I've built with extrusion systems for years, 80/20 and Bosch and whatever. And like, that's legitimately solved a major problem I used to have, because I hated paying 50 cents a nut for T-nuts and accessories. And so it was like, that system was designed around using like standard nuts and bolts. And like, I was really happy because, like, it was a new product for a new company that we came out with, but it was also something that I, like, personally really wanted for years. And so it was like, that was a really special thing. I mean, so the first one always holds a special place, but as we've grown, and our products are used everywhere, there are some really special moments about products when you see, like, at First Global or FTC, where we literally have students in almost every single country in the world using products. It's just really cool to see them interact, get inspired, not directly because of our products, but letting our products act as a vehicle for, the program inspiration. And so they're all kind of special in a lot of different ways, at least to me. David's probably going to have one specific one, but.
I was going to say, though, like, if you think Greg is joking about that, until recently, like, this was 6 months ago, is we finally got rid of that desk. He built like a half a line of furniture that was all with the 1-inch extrusion. Like, his love for the 1-inch extrusion should not be understated here. Like, like, I would not be surprised if there's like shelving units in his garage currently that are currently made out of it. But
there are not, but that's a good idea.
Anyway.
I don't think I have. I will limit myself to one specific product, but I think like Greg said, like, some of the earlier products that really kind of help set our momentum really stick with me. I definitely have a special place for motor control. Even before we started Rev, I was involved with FIRST related motor control, where I used to work as an engineer and as an intern, and at TI, and so getting to continue that, I guess that passion for motor control into Rev, and to really bring down those costs and make it more accessible to people. I guess the latest one being our brushless motor controller, Spark Max. A lot of energy goes into those products, and it feels really, really good to see them go from being something digital on a computer screen to suddenly it's a physical circuit board and a case, and it's operating because of the software that engineers are writing and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's the products that I tend to feel the most passionate about are the ones that I've also put in a lot of energy into. But across the board, I think like even though I'm not a mechanical engineer, I do enjoy a lot of our different mechanical products as well.
Yeah. So I've only been really with Rev for, I kind of jumped in at the tail end of a little bit of the development that was around like SparkMax and Neo. And the initial, like a lot of the, once the products are kind of, I kind of jump in at the beginning to help with some brainstorming and maybe try to communicate some issues that teams or people who are currently using our products or that they would potentially run into, to be able to kind of throw that up on the board to start brainstorming ideas. And then kind of a little bit further down the line, when things are a little bit more solid and they're starting to go into manufacturing, and then it's now we need to show people how to use this thing. So a lot of the products that we released specifically for FTC last year, I really love the ultraplanetary gearbox. I think that solves like a lot of small little issues that like I've always had with other gearboxes, especially when working with new students who maybe haven't had the experience of like tinkering with toy cars or RC cars or something like that. So that's one of that's probably my favorite product so far, because it is a pretty complicated one that's relatively easy to use.
So just kind of elaborating on that part of everything, like your favorite product or whatever. But where would you like to see the technology go? And like, what's the neatest feature that you'd like to see on a robot someday? It's a big question, I know.
It is a big question, and we have to be careful answering it too, because there's a lot of really awesome things coming down the pipeline. And like, this is the point where like I put my foot in my mouth, and then we have to announce something early. No, so yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers, Greg.
So I think that brushless technology is something that we're just starting to see the evolution of in FRC. Power density and efficiency is great. So I think that that's something that's going to continue to grow. I can tell like FRC teams, you know, there is definitely a lot of teams who come up to us and say that, you know, brushless has really changed the way that they have done it and improved the performance of the robot. So we think that that's going to continue to evolve over time. I get really excited about sensor tech. There's a lot of really awesome things in there for robot environmental sensing, whether it's vision or just really interesting ways that you can use multiple sensors to where your robot is, to do path planning. A lot of the autonomous vehicle technology is becoming really accessible, and I think that there'll be a natural evolution to bring us some of that down into both FTC and FRC for the future, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and this is less of like this is more of like an FTC specific thing, but I'm actually really excited about the control hub going in full bore with FTC, mainly because it allows us to start doing some creative things on the software side of the fence that makes it a little bit easier and more intuitive and more affordable for more people to get their hands on things. Like I just keep thinking back like to like my freshman year. Autonomous mode in FRC was the first thing that just started to happen, and the number of people that could program was like 3 people on the team out of 30, where we're able to start getting to a point where, you know, more people can have access to this simultaneously with a really, really relatively cheap all-in-one package. So like that's kind of a nice thing. So that's probably my big thing.
Yeah, on that note, just that accessibility of the more advanced sensors, which comes with more advanced software, and making that more accessible to the everyday team, because they're part of the program too. We often focus on who we see at the top, but that's not the whole program. And so I guess that's kind of the technology, really utilizing and making that technology accessible is what I'm looking forward to.
So we have a question in the chat that says, what does the increased partnership with FIRST mean for the growth of Rev?
Sure. So, I mean, obviously the increase in partnership with FIRST helps to grow Rev, you know, in general, right? I mean, Rev has focuses that are not FIRST, right? Some of our education initiatives, there are schools that use it. Obviously, things like, FIRST Global and FIRST are two separate entities, and there's a lot of different people who use our products for maybe things that the FIRST community has no idea about. But our connection with FIRST is really, we look at it as a partnership. So we continue to develop products that we think the community needs. FIRST gives us feedback. We kind of are able to talk with them strategically about things that help what their goals for the program are, and then we can propose technology solutions that can help advance their program. So obviously, the more rollout helps with the growth of Rev. I mean, there are more teams using our products, which increases our sales and footprint, but we look at that as really an opportunity to help the overall experience with FIRST, because the more that we can do and the more that we can we can help make sure that experience that every student is with our hardware can be the best that it can be. And then those students will want to continue on either their first evolution to other programs, or really driving down the importance of STEM careers as they graduate and move on to, the rest of their careers, to come back and then be volunteers. And so a lot of what we focus on is how students and people who use our products have a great experience. And a lot of that does kind of filter back and forth where, as FIRST continues to evolve and their programs continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and Rev's products continue to evolve and get stronger and stronger and stronger, I think that both organizations grow and do better as a whole.
And what advice would you give to a student that maybe dreams of starting their own company, maybe like yours or not, but on that same kind of wavelength from the perspective of a former student and
Sure.
mentor?
I think I have a really easy one. Make sure whatever you do and whatever you're working on, that you love it, right? Because it is so easy to think about all the good days and all the fun and all the love what you do, but there are going to be some really, really hard days too. And if you are not driven by something that you are so deeply passionate about, you need that love to get you through some of the hard stuff that's coming. And so there's lots of advice on how to start up, how to finance, how to do an MVP, how to do whatever you want to do, whether it's a robotics company or not. But make sure that you love what you are doing, because once you start the ride, it's not something that you can just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm done with this, right? You need to love what you do. And I mean, we love what we do at Rev, but it's that's my big advice, is make sure that whatever you do, you love.
Yeah, I'd echo that wholeheartedly. I guess some additional advice would just be to start simple and stay focused. It's a lot better to focus on one thing that you're passionate about, that you can do very well and differentiate yourself from what's out there. If you're improving something, or if it's something brand new, focus on that one thing and build that base and build that core. And that's you don't want to spread yourself too thin. You don't want to kind of make the waters a little muddy. You focus on that one thing.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is obviously I didn't start the company, right? I'm just a guy who kind of works here. But I mean, not really, but it is a thing where you do, it's not maybe just love, but it's the believing in it at the end of the day. You are taking a little bit of a risk. I especially with everything else that's kind of going on, I know that Greg and David have been putting a lot of hard work into a lot of things that are not fun, inherently not fun, like spreadsheets and projections and a lot of these types of things that also comes with the designing the new extrusion so it solves your T-nut problem, right? There's two sides of this coin. So you just have to be ready to do whatever you need to do at the end of the day to go ahead and get it done.
I think that's all pretty sound advice. One other question is, are there any plans to increase the number of motors that can be connected to a hub?
So there is not. You can still have 4 motor ports, but a lot of FTC teams maybe don't know. The Spark Mini motor controller is a good way of doing that, where you can basically trade one of your PWM connections for additional motors. So if you've got a robot that only needs 6 motors, for example, you can do that with a single hub. The only caveat being that you will only have encoder feedback for the 4 that are plugged into motor ports. But yeah, so it's kind of, when we did that paradigm, we said like a lot of basic rookie teams, like we decided on the number of motors, a lot of basic rookie starter bots, 4 motors and 6 servos is a really good combination for a motor. And then you can go to an additional hub, which doubles your stuff. But we do know there are some teams in that middle ground. And so Spark Mini is a good opportunity to add an additional motor, especially for ones that you don't really need feedback on, like an intake motor or like an intake or something like that.
Or even something that you can maybe use a limit switch to control, that you don't need the speed or position feedback.
Sounds great. And then just one last thing, is there any advice for teams going forward, or any teams or students who may want to like learn more about Rev Robotics?
Sure. So first thing is, we offer a tremendous amount of resources that maybe teams don't know about. On our website, we have a revrobotics.com, and at the top, if you just click check technical resources, there's lots of guides and documents that can help you. And so check those out. And then also, we're here to help, right? If you need help, feel free to ask us, right? Like, we are always working on new documentation. We're always here to support you. So if you run into an issue, you can think of us as like, mentors, remote mentors, right? So send us emails, call us. You'll probably get Mac on the phone, first, but we are here to help, because we want to help each team find success, right? There's part of this that is the intellectual challenge that you have to go through to solve what the robotics competition part, but especially technical stuff. We designed this stuff. We're the experts in it. Let us know if there's something wrong. We'll make it right. If there's anything we can do to help you, we will always try to help you.
Yeah. And the other big thing too is like literally no question is too big or too small. Like I just answered the other day, someone was looking at trying to find a better way of creating wiring diagrams for their engineering notebook, right? And they're just asking like, hey, like, you guys mentor teams and you guys make these great diagrams. How do you do it? And do you have any suggestions? And so there are legitimately, if there is a question under the sun, we've probably answered it at this point. So just feel free to ask. That's kind of what we're here for.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for just being here and talking with us today. You have done a great job sharing wisdom and just some overall just good advice. So thank you again. And I want to again thank our sponsor, Capital One, and have a great rest of your day.